Hey, it's MJ from the Coaches Panel. I hope you're well and welcome back to another one of our player episode reviews, where I take my look over every single player that's moved clubs this off-season via trade or free agency. Tell you what I think it means for the team they've left, the team they've now landed at, and for those of us that play AFL Fantasy, SuperCoach and Dream Team, I wrap it up with my thoughts on what I think it means for us and for that player in 2024. Talking about brand new Collingwood Magpie Lachie Schultz. What does it mean for his former team, the Fremantle Dockers? Pain. Honestly, I think it's a little bit of pain. This forward line was already lacking in avenues and options to goal, and now arguably they've lost their, at current time, their most accomplished and damaging option. Yes, Jai Amiss is going to be, I think, a really class tall forward. He's not your typical bash and crash, but really nice overhead, good conversion, set shot at goal. Hard to match up on from a tall in terms of his ability to create separation and space on his opponent. So I think he is absolutely the ace that they're going to build this forward line around, alongside of a Luke Jackson, should the Darcy and Jackson ruck forward role share that we saw last year only further blossom. So Schultz out was arguably, outside of a miss, not just the most damaging forward option they've got, but a significant scoreline reduction for this team. Yes, they've got some great draft capital now to go and make a really big play, which rumours have circulating that at the end of next season they're going to go after Sydney Swan, West Australian boy Logan McDonald, and I think that's a really smart play for them to do that, but that is not going to help them in the immediate. Michael Walters is absolutely a class player, but at the end of his career. They've got a couple of okay pressure small forwards, but so much pressure now comes entirely onto Jai to be the reason they kick winning scores. At the end of the year, we did see a couple of games from a Tommy Emmett, who I think showed a fair bit as a medium that can play tall and small, and that's a little bit of what Lachie is. Really nice below his knees is Lachie Schultz, really good out on the lead, crafty and hard to match up on in terms of size and speed, and Emmett's definitely got some of those parallel traits, but he's not to the level of where Lachie Schultz is right now. In 2 to 3 seasons, absolutely. Okay, now we're talking about a forward line with Amos, with Jackson, potentially, with him and Darcy rolling through there. Emmett, maybe a Logan McDonald, all of a sudden, okay, this is a really different and very, very damaging forward line. But right now, I just see this as a step back for the Fremantle Football Club in terms of their goal-scoring output. So they're going to get some goals somewhere else if they're going to push themselves back into finals contention. I don't know if they can do that. Their midfield I really love. Their backline I think is really, really strong too. So their big issue now is how they're going to impact the game by winning through kicking goals. And Lachie Schultz and his departure does not help them get any better, unfortunately. Emmett, I think, will be fine. He's even somebody that late in drafts, which we'll talk about in a second, could be fine to pick up, is Tommy Emmett, but definitely not somebody that's going to immediately replicate the impact on the scoreboard and the game that we saw from Lachie Schultz, who in my eyes is definitely in the calibre of all-Australian conversation for the role he plays. What does it mean for Collingwood? Well, I think it's a significant upgrade in their forward line. We saw multiple times this year, they've tried a few different looks and shapes. Taylor Adams, who's now at Sydney, but their former vice-captain, they couldn't squeeze back into that midfield, so they kind of forced him in through there. They had different times with an Ash Johnson, Dan McStay, Darcy Cameron, Mason Cox, Jamie Elliott. You know, he and Brodie Myercheck have arguably been the staples, but they've tried plenty of different shapes around this forward line, but never really got it going. The good news is it didn't impact their ability to win the premiership. The scary thing for opposition teams is they've got considerably better, because they've now got a really additional potent weapon inside forward 50 who makes it hard that, okay, if you're going to match up on Jamie Elliott as that dynamic medium who can mark, who can crumb, who can get on the lead, Schultz is arguably the kind of the Luke Skywalker here to this team, in the sense that he is the next generation that's going to come through and be the Padawan. Not that he isn't got his own identity in and of itself. So to me, this is a very scary prospect for opposition teams, and fantastic for Collingwood, because now you've got Myercheck, who's just a really safe, reliable option. McStay's your crash and bash tall forward. Cameron and also Mason Cox are your resting rucks who just create a contest down the line. Beau McCreary's your pressure small forward. Jamie Elliott is your ace in the hole. And then you could also probably say that Lachie Schultz is like the king, given how parallel there are in these types of players. So this is a significant upgrade for Collingwood. Their premiership team has just gotten stronger. Yes, Ginnivan out and Taylor Adams out. It's probably not what they would have loved to have seen depart from an on-field performance, but look, he's a significant upgrade in all areas of forward craft to those two. And that's no shade on Jack or Taylor. It's just the quality of the player that Lachie Schultz is right now. So this is a great move for Lachie, great move for Collingwood. And if you support any other of the 17 clubs, yeah, you're not loving what's just happened. So what does it mean for us to play AFL Fantasy, SuperCoach and Dream Team next year? Well, it means a guy that's averaging in the mid to high 70s already, for him to be viable, two things need to happen. Number one, a significant departure and a lack of recapture of high-end forward premium candidates. Now, while we will lose a couple, I don't think it will get to such a depth of pain that we will need to look at guys that are in the mid-70s as viable premiums in our starting line. And so that, you could pretty much close that tab pretty easily. The second is there a world where you see him elevate his scoring 10, 15, 20 points per game that puts him in the conversation of being a top 5 to top 10 forward? I don't see that. Again, we just listed a few moments ago about all the damaging options they've got inside forward 50. Yeah, Lachie Schultz is good. I think 3 of his last 6 games last year were all tons. So he's a really, really good player, can score from fantasy and does have a ceiling. But classic, I think the 2 key variables you need for making him relevant, I don't see a narrative pathway for how that comes. So for classic, I'm kind of happy to fade him. And yep, if things change during the year after a couple of rounds, then let's reassess. But definitely not someone I'm looking at in my starting squad. For draft, he is really relevant though. Much has been made of who we are going to lose, and we are going to lose a lot of really high-end talent. But the fact is, a high 70s forward is still really valuable on draft day for us. So he's got the ability to give you nice tons because he's in a better system and arguably a considerably stronger team. He might even get more avenues and opportunities to score than what he got at Fremantle. And so there's a world where I can see him not just maintaining, but maybe marginally increasing his scoring. Not so much that it makes him classic relevant, but enough that for a draft perspective, he's not going to be a late afterthought, where for a lot of coaches this year, his average draft position was uber late or not at all and was picked up off the waiver wire. So I think you'll get drafted on draft day, depending on the depth of teams and how many forwards you play on field. I wouldn't be opposed to him sitting at an F3 style position because he's got some ceiling about him, and his basement's not so bad because he does tackle, he does mark, he does impact the scoreboard, he does do some score impacts across the ground and does link up quite well. For me, I can see him kind of maintaining that 60 is a bad game. Probably won't have heaps over 90, but kicks the odd bag and then maybe he'll be there. So on draft day, I think he'll be handy for you as a mid to late pickup. But all of those caveats for classic mean for me, look, I don't think he's going to help us at Collingwood. Emmett could be interesting, but again, average, I think it was about 70 odd across the format. Certainly an AFL Fantasy and Dream Team means he'll be priced at that spot with those 2 games late in the year. So unfortunately for him, that probably hurts his value for us a little bit in classic for Dream Team, AFL Fantasy and SuperCoach. But let's look and wait and see what the pricing comes out like. We know he can score okay. I think he's got some upside, but is it going to be enough? I think that's really the big question. But do you agree or disagree on my take with Lachie Schultz and his fantasy relevance in 2024? Comment below and let me know what you think about what that all means. If you are enjoying this player series so far, make sure you turn the subscription channel color change, do all that stuff so that you subscribe to the channel and got that notification bell turned on so that as soon as we upload a video, you get notified straight away. We'll be back again with another video with another player that's moved clubs in the off season very, very soon. But if you want to support what we're doing here at the Coaches Panel, you can become a Patreon for as little as $2 a month. All the opportunity you can possibly have to join that is really simple. It's in the description of this video below. Exclusive content, hidden groups, and a bunch of other tiers of rewards that come your way by becoming a Patreon. We'd certainly encourage you to check it out. I can't wait to chat with you again soon as we discuss another player that moves clubs this offseason.